Hey y'all, it is Kristen from Ardani Farm, and it is a glorious spring morning here. We are getting ready for our first mindfulness event. Danielle should be arriving here in the next 30-ish minutes. This is our test run for our what we hope to be a full event in the fall. So we have kind of friends and family of the farm coming out to participate in a kind of one-off session and give their feedback, tell us what works, what could be improved so that we can launch a full nature-based mindfulness course in October of this year. So I'm really excited. I gotta get the track cleaned up before people show up. But yeah, I can't wait to show you guys little snips of what's going on, and we should do a track tour. It's been a minute. We'll do that. So this is the wellness space that we're creating, and I think we're going to use this for events, possibly things like yoga, and definitely where we're hosting our mindfulness sessions in the fall. It'll be interesting to see how this space looks different in the fall versus the spring, and we're going to have to try this in multiple seasons, but I'm just really excited about how this is growing up. Okay. I feel like you guys are starting to get used to this. It's been a little bit. I've gone to the IAABC conference. Lots of things have happened. It's been about a week, but track tour happening now. So we are in May. It's the beginning of May now, so we're really starting to hit into our summer weather. I know we're still in spring, but it's summer weather. And let's look at how things have changed on the track. Number one, I will say the horses are spending a lot of time in the shelter. Pretty much they have put themselves on night turnout. For the most part, they're just staying in. I've moved the hay nets really close to the barn because they would not eat. So now they are ducking in for shelter from the sun and the bugs, and then they pop out and they'll eat at the hay nets right there, and then they go back and they walk out and they go back and they walk out and they go back, and they do that all day. And then they turn themselves all the way out at night. We're kind of still working on some things to mitigate that. We did move our Htap, which I'll show you here in a second, closer to the barn because the chickens were in the hay. I'll be right back. Remind me to tell you that one of the things on the list is building out a wall to the hay barn because we're getting more chickens and they can't be in the hay. So that's a project that's coming. So we moved the Htap, the horsefly trap, over closer to the barn. It was not hitting enough bugs where it was, but we've already captured a ton since moving it. So we're gonna look at possibly getting another Htap to help the horses out here. But yeah, just wanted to mention that the bugs are, specifically the horseflies, which are in the tabanid family, as predicted, are a problem. And we're just, again, trying to mitigate that. But everyone was in napping earlier. Fly sprays and things, they tend to work for about 10 minutes, so that's not really a sustainable solution. But anyway, let's go look at the track. I did want to take a moment to this was the install that we did over the winter when everything was really mucky and slippery and I couldn't stand life. We installed our mud grids upside down into this area and let the mud and some sawdust fill them, and they're holding up great. This is not the way that these are supposed to be installed, but we could not get any heavy rock trucks in here during the winter. It was just so sloppy. So installing these upside down and then pushing them into the ground has actually firmed up this area really nice. It has provided some soil stability, and this area has just really maintained well. So just want to mention that if you're kind of in that, having that same problem, again, it is not a quote-unquote recommended way of doing it, but it does seem to function. So also, we're coming in on 7-ish months since we installed our high traffic pad and our sand area, and I just really feel like both are holding up really well. I'm really happy about how their looking and their functionality, and honestly, I don't know that I'd still be doing this without them. So if you're planning your own property, I would definitely prioritize having in a high traffic pad that is properly set up and installed. It is a lifesaver, especially if you're in an area like me where it's very wet or muddy. We have really high clay. I'm gonna be totally honest and show you the track is as it is. I have not picked up the track this morning. This is real life. I wouldn't record this if I didn't do it right now, so I just have to kind of roll with things. But you can see the center bits have really kicked up and are really full of grass and, well, right now buttercups. But we're gonna work on transforming that over, you know, the next couple of years and really get more of a native meadow set up here. We do mostly have like improved pasture grasses in there. My long-term goal, of course, is to set up more of a native meadow with little blue stem and some other sedges and rushes and things like that to really provide a home for our native birds and bugs and things. So this is the Htap by Bite Light. It is, I think I mentioned it in another video, but it is a pesticide-free, reasonably species specific bug trap. It does target horseflies and deer flies specifically because it works by heat. So what happens is that black ball heats up, and that is how they hunt, obviously because they're seeking blood from warm-blooded animals. They fly to the ball, they get caught in the cone, and then they have to just go up and they get trapped in that little top bit. So again, there's no insecticides, nothing sticky on the ball. It's just using the way that they hunt. And because of that, it is, like I said, pretty specific. I don't catch a lot of, there are sometimes some moths and things, which obviously I really hate to damage our ecosystem here in any way. Not to say that horseflies are not part of the ecosystem, but I have to look at the safety of my horses. So yeah, highly recommend. They are not inexpensive. Last time I looked, I think they were in the $400 range, but they are a nice solution. Hey, Rams. Remy is braving the bugs here to come out and eat some hay. So awesome. Let's keep going. So this was the rain garden area, and I'll try to pop in a video of how things were looking when we first started this, but you can see this is a massive transformation already, and we still have a lot of work to do. The baby plants that we put in are really doing well. This will start to build a little bit more of a screen as we fill in this area. One of the things that I've noticed about the track is basically growing grass where I can and keeping the horses off of that area, and then keeping the rest of the track, clear, has really helped because this is all providing soil stability and pulling water off of the system. And the flooding issues that we were having in the beginning, I'm just not seeing them now. Of course, we're in summer now, so number one, we're a little bit drier, but we're gonna get a good bit of rain this week. I will shoot another video immediately after that so you can see kind of in real time how that's looking. At some point I'll shoot a video here in the afternoon. The lighting's not great, but these trees have now started to produce a nice amount of shade over the track on this side, which is nice. Again, this was the area that in the beginning was just, well, this was this was Pooh Lake, and as you can see, we're seeing some improvements here. Again, this is predominantly buttercups. We're going to work on managing this. Not that there's anything like, I'm not worried about the toxicity here with the horses, but they're not native, right? So we're going to work on transforming this. We've already started. We have some landsleaf tick seed planted here. There's some cutleaf coneflower in the back over there, and some more taller plants kind of headed off into the back corner. But working on this. So you can see our little baby redbud here, who is loving his life and doing so well. And I'm really hopeful that maybe he will bloom next year. But yeah, so come around. This oak tree is starting to shade the water trough, which I love because, again, we want to try to keep the water nice and cool. I am mindful of it, of course, because oak leaves and their acorns are toxic to horses. So we're going to definitely keep an eye on this, and if I need to move this, I will. My plan is to manage this by just kind of raking it, and we rake it every day. So we have planted here, which we need to come in and weed whack around, but our blackberries and raspberries are planted on the edges of this, and the plan is for them to grow up and over and allow the horses to nibble on those leaves for the benefits that they have. And we also have some native fruit trees planted in here. You can't see them, they're really small, but hopefully this area will become our kind of orchard. And again, we planted anything that is potentially toxic to horses way on the inside, and we have really strong hot wire. So it is a little bit of a calculated risk here, but we live here, we can see this from our windows. So as we come through here, you can see that our sweet gums are starting to leaf out, which again, I'm hoping will provide a little bit of shade. The way that they're, where they are on the property, they're not going to get a ton of shade producing opportunity just because they are on the east side of the property. But they are also helping us with our, maybe a little privacy from our neighbor. Again, our little hay stations, this was just muddy. We're starting to see some improvements here. And again, this is an area that I'm not worried about over here on the left, where if it gets a little bit muddy and then dries out, that's fine. Horses need to experience all sorts of different I keep wanting to say climates, and climates isn't the word I want to use, but textures and surfaces and all of that. Again, we have our feeding stations, which is another high traffic pad. Again, I highly recommend if you're planning out your property to put your high traffic pad in as part of your initial, wherever you're going to feed them, wherever they're going to be standing predominantly. We have modified this section of the track a little bit because we have planted our first dogwood. Again, our plan is to line all of this down with dogwoods and provide some opportunities here. Heading out into the back, I'm noticing that the mulberry that is reaching over the track has some little nibble marks, which again, I want browsing opportunities. I want to use the things on the property to encourage movement, to get them out looking for things, kind of engaging that seeking system in their brain, which now keep in mind, we don't want to keep them in a seeking system all the time, but that is a natural part of, who they are as horses, is to walk around and, look for food. Keeping, horses on, while grazing is an important natural part of their day, usually standing on, 10 acres of fertilized orchard grass would never have been natural for them. So yeah, this is the walk down. You can see that they have nibbled on the trees that reach to the track. Here's if I can find a good branch that shows it. So yeah, they are doing a little bit of browsing here. This tree is totally safe for them. But the tree itself is protected and they can't get too much of it. So it's functioning a little bit like a hedgerow would here. And so as we head out to the back track, one of my favorite things I'm seeing is where we blocked off the track to make our little switchbacks is turning into such a lovely little meadow. I'm gonna try to hold more still. It's a little bumpy. I don't have a GoPro. If anyone's really invested in this, you could send me one. So again, this is heading out into our part of our pasture that is not surfaced. I know it looks like a lot of green. There is a lot of buttercups, which the horses are not eating. And again, the horses are still eating pretty close to their full ration of hay. So they're not getting a ton of grass. It's more of an enrichment situation than it is a nutrition situation. But just look at how these grasslands are popping up, and they're just stunning. As we're continuing to walk through here, you can see that for the most part the horses have cleared their own path here. We are keeping this pretty shortly cut. I will probably make a whole video on the pros and cons of tall grasses versus short grasses. But one of the things I have noticed is that in these corners, they're not really grazing in them. Again, we do have to mow them, but they are pooping in them. So they seem to be using it for that while they're keeping the other parts of the track relatively clean. Again, here's the meadows that we're coming around. Now, here's something to notice. If your horses were eating grass, right? Let's say that you have a field that you're not mowing. This is probably what it would look like. So all of this has been eaten, right, by the horses. So just something to kind of keep in mind. It's something that my friend had mentioned when she was noticing her pasture, comparing her pasture, which is not being mowed. And she saw this when she was out for an event. And she's like, wow, it really drove home how much grass they actually are eating every day. Again, we have some more trees that are popping up along the fence line here. And my goal here is for this to be supporting wildlife, restoring our soil, putting out deep taproots, which is going to help with the mud situation. Some of this might be changing. We're bringing in a horse who has, as a first boarder, who will have had rotation. So they have foundered, and they foundered recently. So they're coming here for us to help them. And this level of grass has been working fine for my current herd. Okay, it's actually been working really well for them. It might not work out for this new horse. And if that's the case, if we're still seeing signs of inflammation, we will revamp, because that's, you know, what we're headed for is we want to make things as healthy as possible, and we have to just keep observing to make that happen. This is dogbane. It is one of our native plants, but it is toxic to horses, so it can stay as long as it stays inside. I will say it is not palatable. It has like a really milky substance. It's kind of related to milkweed, which the sap is very like latexy. The horses don't eat it, but you know, any horse hungry enough can definitely eat anything. So I just want to make sure that we're doing everything we can. So this says we head all the way out to the back of the track. This is our unsurfaced, untracked area, and I do currently, and I reserve the right to continue to evolve as I learn and I observe. But right now, I love this space for the horses. The stocking density on this is high enough that, you know, I don't feel like they're getting a ton of grass. But again, something we'll monitor, especially as we bring rows onto the property here. We do plan on making another cut out fenced off area here in the center, which will add some river birches and other trees, both for shade. And obviously one thing that's nice about this is once the sun kips up over these trees, this whole area is shaded, and I feel like you can already kind of see what that looks like. And obviously grass growing, maybe rephrase that. Let me not say obviously, because it's absolutely not obvious. Grass that is growing in the shade is going to be lower sugar than grass growing in the bright sun. So something to keep in mind. Talking about the benefits of trees and all those other things, right? Obviously good for the soil, good for stability, good for shade. Also will help some lower sugar grasses, right? So this is a nice shady area. I will say perfectly honestly that it is not enough for them currently with the horseflies. But my goal is eventually is that we can get to a mitigation standpoint that it is. This provides them a place to lay down. When talking about the track system with our vet, one of his pieces of advice that he gave me was make sure that the horses have a nice soft place to lay down. That's a thing that he has seen in some track systems, is that with everything being surfaced, they can end up with sores from trying to lay down. So taking that advice, I do want to keep some nice lounging areas for them, and make sure they are, you know, able to express that part of their, you know, species specific activities as well, right? So anyway, this is kind of the track. This is how things are looking. That is not my property. We're looking to kind of amp up our wellness stuff here, both for people and horses. Look forward to lots more of events and lectures and all sorts of things. I met a bunch of amazing people at the behavior conference in Asheville, and I'm looking forward to hopefully bringing some of them here to help us with some lectures, maybe host some online events through the farm. A lot of really great things are kind of on the horizon here, and I'm so excited that y'all are part of it. Let me know what you think of the track, what ideas you have, if you notice something that I haven't noticed, if you have concerns about the amount of grass back here, you're not alone. But yeah, pop them in the comments, let me know. I love hearing from you. Things have gotten really busy, but I'm dedicated here again to sharing this journey with you. One kind of interesting thing I wanted to point out here is that right here, just because of the way the hot wire had to be run, this is really low. Horses could definitely be munching on this, and they're not. And I just find it interesting. Obviously this is super mature grasses. I don't know if they're just not very tasty. I don't know if it's just because they're very, I don't like the word, but respectful of hot wire. Again, we have very hot wire and they don't want to touch it. Or what it is, but this, like I said, they could be reaching into this and they definitely are not. And like I said, they're not even touching where it is like low enough that they could be on this side of the hot wire. So something for me to kind of keep an eye on and monitor. I just find it very interesting little tidbit that I'm filing away. Also, I want to just mention that this multiflora rose and the honeysuckle, they smell amazing. Both of them are invasive species, and we're working on replacing them with more beneficial species. But one thing that has made me notice is I'm like, I want some fragrant ones, because man, it's nice. They do smell really, really nice. And it's just observing that I do really enjoy that. And things like the fringe tree and some other of our more fragrant native species are definitely making an appearance because of that. And in fact, it's something I want to add, right? So we're talking about, we want to be able to hear birds and the bees, and we want to be able to see flowers and all these things, right? So there's like all of the senses. And now one of the things I want to add is like, I want to smell nice things all year round. So I'm looking into the seasonality of different fragrant flowers that we have, and how I can incorporate them in areas I spend a lot of time in. So again, observation and then acting on that. So I hope this helps. I'll see you next time.